This is what's happening.
Uh-huh. There it is.
Here we go. We are recording. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's the Canadian Bro Show. My name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. We are excited to continue our interview series, which we've been doing quite a few of recently. And what I mean by we is I'm extremely fortunate with episode 38. The episode is called Finding Alberta. And we'll get into exactly what that means, hopefully with more clarity than we have right now. But introducing my two co-hosts of the most, my immediate right or top right is John Leister, the co-host with the second most of the Canadian Bro Show, and then right below him
I gotta put
gets
my.
his own. Look at that space, bro. And it's Mr. Trent Rowley, the co-host with the most, self-proclaimed, and Trent, thank God, is our. We're all Canadian. We're all proud Canadians, and we wanted to do a show about Canada. It's so large, second largest country in the world, and one of the strongest provinces in our country. Has felt that they have been sort of taken advantage of the last, say, 4 decades, perhaps,
Uh-huh.
especially with the new politics coming in and the Liberals taking their fourth consecutive power again after what they did was systematically almost destroy Canada in a period of a decade. They were very successful in doing that. The fact they got in was extremely rare. We're going to get into it. But right below us is Mr. Trent Rowley. Thank you, Trent, for joining us. Trent is from St. Paul, Alberta. And Trent, thank you. I mean, this is awesome to have the two co-hosts at the most. I've been wanting to do a show. We were all talking in our pre-show. What do people really know about Alberta? And that's hence the title of the show, Finding Alberta. Because I think Alberta is finding itself, and I think it needs to find itself. I think Alberta needs to be the forefront of any province in Canada and lead us into the 21st century. That's my personal opinion. I think BC has always been a strong partner. We haven't agreed on things for the most part. Brent, what would you like to say? What is it like to be Albertan for you in this day and age?
Well, right now, probably I would say everybody just doom and gloom, as we talked about before we, with all three of us before we started, and Johnny
I think
mentioned it.
that's a global thing.
It's just gloom and doom about separation and all this other things, and that's what I'm dealing with right now. I got friends who text me stuff like, not memes, but a story from somewhere, and it's why we should separate, why all that, and it's just, man, you guys not realize how good we have it. Yeah, we need to, and that's what we can talk about today. Like,
So you are anti-Canada. You are not a
yeah,
separatist.
I'm a Canadian, man. I'm a Canadian. Like, as I told Paul before, Johnny, when you go away on a vacation, let's say you go to Jamaica and you're out somewhere, or even you meet, somebody at the beach, and they go, "Hey, where are you from?" You don't say St. Paul, Alberta. You say Canada, and then you might say, "I'm from St. Paul," but you're going to always say Canada first. The only three
Or if they ask,
it-
where in Alberta?
the only three places that might not say Canada would be Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, because those are global cities for Canadian cities. So most people in the world know those three cities in Canada. They don't know Edmonton. They
I
don't
would
know
say I would
all
say
that.
Quebec City
Right.
has a pretty good
That's what I
international
mean. But
reputation.
Montreal, that's why I just said Montreal. But if someone said
Yeah,
they're from
yeah, fair enough.
Montreal,
Fair enough.
I think Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver are those three cities that people in the world recognize. But when you go somewhere, you say you're from Canada first. We all do,
Cool.
and people that say they don't are lying. That's
So
just my.
the Albertans who are the most strident about wanting to separate, what is their number one issue? What is their number one beef?
Well, the beef is the industry part. The beef is the constant battle that we've had, and I wrote notes about it that we can get into down the road. But even when Pierre Elliott Trudeau was in power, he was trying to make rules to choke Alberta out with the industry, trying to give the Canadian government, the federal government, more power over our provincial resource.
More nationalism.
Yeah, yeah, basically, right. And then his son gets in. What's his name?
45 years ago.
Justin Castro. I mean, Justin Trudeau gets in, and again implement like emissions stuff that once people understand where we are in emissions in the world, we shouldn't be having these rules. We are like one of the least of emissions in the G20 of
Yes.
major countries. But people don't realize that because that's not the
Not
problem.
just the G20, Trent, sorry to interrupt, G7 as well. Come on, man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's typical. I guess one of the worst things that's probably ever happened to me, for me personally, John, is social media, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
everybody just gets to have their own bubble.
Yeah,
So when you
true.
promote a certain amount of information, well, I'm only getting the information that agrees with me, nothing that ever pushes back on me. So if I'm a person who's anti-oil sands and it's dirty oil, well, that's all you're getting, and that's all you're going to promote. You're not going to go, oh, I didn't realize that we take it out of the ground more environmentally safe than any other country in the world. We're the ones introducing the techniques of how to get it out of the ground in a better way. But people don't want to hear that are that left because that's not the information they get.
Right.
They just
They
hear
don't want
pipe.
to hear the objective truth. They just want to hear what
Exactly.
they want to
Right?
hear.
That's the
Is
problem.
this is this? Are you talking about the final product, Trent? You're talking about the bitumen, the hard,
Just in general.
dirty oil.
Just in general, it is bitumen. It's mud basically, right? And that's what gets used in the computers we're using today, the phones. It's in fiberglass, it's in cars, it's in glass, it's used for everything. Plus, it's refined into actual motor oil as
Yeah,
well.
it's massive. And what about potash? Is Alberta a big producer of
That's a
potash?
potash. Saskatchewan's even a bigger producer. That's their potash in Saskatchewan. They have oil as well, but potash is even a bigger, as big of
It's a
revenue.
prime component for fertilizer. Is that correct?
Fertilizer, yeah, it goes into tons of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think mostly for me, just the feeling is that there's a lot of people, even friends of mine, that are talking about this 51st state nonsense and stupid stuff like
Really.
that.
Well, they want to join America.
Yeah, pardon me.
They want it. They want to amalgamate with the
Yeah,
U.S.
they think
Or they want
51st.
Alberta to be an independent country.
No, I got some that think let's separate, and I have others that think yeah, let's separate and become the 51st state. And
I
I'm
bet a
just
And
lot of
be
these people have never traveled to a third world country, right?
it's
They don't know how
crazy, right?
good they have it. Probably.
This election was just the result of this election
it's bonkers.
was just doom and gloom here. It's just like if the Liberals win, Alberta needs, and it was before the election was ever called. It was weeks before the election, months before the election. Most Albertans, I won't even say most, I think most is unfair. A percentage of Albertans were like, if the Liberals get in again, we need to separate. I don't think it's a majority. I don't like to believe that it's a majority.
Because they're fed up after 50 years of this, right?
Well, dude, we'll get into it as we go through, like, between trying to choke off industry, not building pipelines to both coasts,
But that's
not
Canada wide. I mean, that's something that we should have done
equalization,
50, 60
equalization
years
change.
ago.
I mean, Alberta has given over. I'm thinking it's since trying to think what the year was, but Alberta itself has given since 1981. Alberta has given $1 trillion in equalization payments to all the
Is
other
that all?
provinces, and they've received 600 billion back. Well, that's a 400 billion transfer deficit
Right.
that we're eating, me in Alberta, because we have to give money, including your province, that we give billions to,
Well,
for
thank you.
everybody else's social programs and everything else. We're the ones paying for it. When the lights go off in Canada, it's Alberta paying the bill, and
Yeah,
that's
you're doing all the hard labor.
it's just
Well,
that's
you,
not
you
even
know
an
why
excuse.
Alberta is footing the bill is because our current government's blown through over $10 billion of deficit, and they're completely inept and have destroyed British Columbia systematically, like a micro version of the Trudeau government and what he did to Canada in the last 10 years. That's my micro rant. Leave it at that, but it's fact. Look it up, check the stats.
But I see a lot of frustration, John. Just to answer your question, there's a percentage of people in our province that are very frustrated and feel that we're kind of, the redheaded stepchild of Canada. We're not being treated like an equal partner at all.
Right. Well, that leads into that's a great question, Johnny. If I can just lead into that, something's going. Am I reverberating, guys?
Yeah, there's an echo on your side, bro.
Well,
It's okay. We
static.
can hear you, but you're kind of
It's the mic
warbling.
the way it's set up. I'll just push it away. The reason why I wanted to bring that up because it was a perfect lead, John. Thank you for that. It was a great first question.
Thank you.
Is that why Daniela Smith, who is the current premier of Alberta, she's
Right.
back in power because she leans center right,
I was just
conservative,
going to say she's
hardcore?
conservative, right?
Yeah, she's definitely farther than center right. That's part of the problem.
Well, isn't that a good for Alberta to have a conservative premier?
Well,
That's
Capitalist,
Danielle Smith is her name.
yeah.
okay.
I mean, I don't know
Well,
anything about this stuff. It's just
Well, that's
spitballing.
why we got Trent on. So, like, Trent, let us know what's going on.
I'll share you the political history of Alberta, John. Alberta was founded, I think 1905. Both us and Saskatchewan became part of Canada as provinces. So we're 120 years, actually. May, what is the date? I can't remember now. I think it was like May 18th or something like that. Is like 120 years for both territories when they became provinces. The first up until 1921, Alberta actually was governed by a Liberal government at that time.
Mm.
And after that, until 4 years ago, before Danielle or Jason Kenney was elected, we had 47 years of conservative government majority in Alberta.
Wow. Yeah.
And
That was my hallucination.
but if you look at what we have, and this is why I always go at people when they complain about liberals and pipelines and all. I go, guys, conservatives have been in power too, like federally, right? But here, then we had 4 years because people were upset because they had set up this heritage fund when times were booming. All of a sudden, that money was gone. Where did that go? They set up a couple other things. All of a sudden, that money's gone. There's not refineries built. There's not things built. And people kind of revolted against the conservatives 6, 7 years ago and voted majority NDP, which I mean are the worst government when they're in power because they just run right to the far left. And I mean, I actually like some of their policies socially, but they didn't real. I tell people this all the time, and I have conservatives who agree with me. They did bring in some really good policies, especially socially, because the conservatives love to cut that stuff, right?
Mm.
But the problem is they would have just embraced the oil and gas business instead of vilifying it as the provincial government. I think they still could have been in power here, but they didn't. They got in power and they just went all full on left
Mm.
and just vilified the oil and gas business, tried to put royalties on things. I mean, businesses were leaving. It cost people money here, a lot. But again, they did have some social programs that are great, and they're still intact in our province. But it's always been conservatives here. I mean, it's whether it's a good thing or not. I would say this to you: federally, the two of you have known we've always had the conservatives and the liberals as the two main parties. The conservatives, there's a word now that's become dirty. Two of them. One's woke. It's totally ridiculous that they've just taken this word and made it a bad thing. And it's always, especially the Christian people, they would realize that Jesus was woke. You realize that, right? Like all the things you say. But the second one is progressive. Well, the Conservative Party used to be called the Progressive Conservatives in
Right.
Canada.
They wanted to have it both ways.
But they were always center right. They governed centered right, which is usually when Canada is very successful is when it's run center right. That you can look at history of our country and our economics, and when our country's run center right, is usually when we're doing our best. It's just
Yeah,
a reality.
fewer restrictions usually means more economic growth.
Not just fewer, but not going crazy. Just a
Yeah,
few, not going totally to the right and cutting all regulations, but trying to
right.
grow business, grow jobs. I mean, people get wealthy, and regular people being able to buy houses and do all that stuff. That's not
Yeah,
happening.
center right's the
Like,
way to go. I mean, you get the fiscal responsibility on the right, the conservative on the right, which has its pros and cons, but there's more pros. Then you get the liberal aspect and the left leaning aspect, which is good for our society. And the way Canada is set up, it's perfect, really. And you can see why that's successful, and you wonder why that's just not more prevalent. And I suppose have liberals are always left leaning. They've never been considered center left. It's always
no,
been left,
yeah, it's been farther
right? There's
left.
no gray area. There's no middle area. And I think that's what we're missing in Canada is that middle area. And do you think your current premier Danielle Smith is she's playing a little bit of hardball? She's got a little bit of a feisty streak, doesn't she? She's quite intelligent.
I think what's happening with this whole referendum talk. So to get I don't know what it is in BC, but in Alberta, for a citizen or to have a petition signed to get our legislature to actually vote on it or have a provincial referendum on it, you needed 600,000 signatures.
Yeah.
After this election was done, this has been going on for a while. This murmur of people in Alberta not being happy.
Yeah.
And when this election was over, well, she went and changed because this is sometimes the problem with majority. She went and changed the actual law of how many signatures you needed. So now it went from 600,000 to 170,000.
No, that's a bit extreme.
She's going to get 170,000. Like we are going to have, I'm predicting we are going to have a referendum here on separation because of that. Because you're going to there's already 80 some thousand signatures on it.
No, not much more to go.
So is it purely everybody has to vote in a referendum in Alberta?
Everybody gets to. Everybody.
No, not gets to. Everybody has to.
Well, I hope so. If they don't have to, you get to, I guess, just like any election.
No, but a referendum is mandatory, is what I'm
Yeah, but
saying.
if you don't, yeah, but if you don't vote, you don't vote, Paul. You can't force people to do something. If they don't want to vote, they don't vote. That's on
Well,
them.
we pay taxes. They force us to pay taxes.
Look at the percentage of people that vote in the federal election. It's
Thirty
barely
percent, maybe,
barely
maybe,
35%. They
maybe.
don't give a shit.
Actually, they said. I think they said 19,000 people voted this year for this most recent 19 million. Pardon me, and that's 41 million in Canada. So that's about as close as I've seen to the high 40s
Yeah,
ever
well,
in my whole life.
yeah, I think more people are being involved. Look at what the numbers have been in the last two elections in the states. It's been
But
in the
do you think it's because of the separation strategy? She's using that strategy as leverage
Yeah,
because of the American South pressure with the tariffs and the global uncertainty. Do you think that this is a do or die time? She's got to do it now while she has the most leverage.
I think they're doing it, and as we talked about when the show before we started, is Quebec did this 3 times. And by the first 2 times, the response was very tepid from people. It wasn't they didn't have a lot of people voting to separate. But the third and last time they did it, it was very close. It was like 48% were for and like 52% were against. Like, so that got the attention. That gets the attention of the federal government to get what is it more money or funding or less regulations? Like Johnny said, whatever you're trying to do.
Was it Mulroney that threw them the distinct society bone to
Exactly.
sort of placate their feelings?
Ah, Johnny, a
Pretty
little
wicked.
blast from the past there, bro. Nice one.
I have my
It is.
moment.
And it is right. So that's where I think maybe Alberta's maybe going is they can show a big enough percentage here of people that are really unhappy that Ottawa maybe like I said, maybe Ottawa lets us become part of Canada because we pay for it. Like you go, like we'll go later on in the show, and I'll talk about representation and stuff. We are the least represented province in the House of Commons and in the Senate.
Yeah,
The
I think that's gonna change with this new administration, and with our new premier, our prime minister. I think that's gonna change. He is a businessman first and foremost, and her congratulation to him when he won was very tepid,
oh yeah,
very mild, very professional, but underlyingly not too interested. And she doesn't trust the Liberal Party at all.
why should
Period.
anybody in Alberta trust the
Well,
Liberal Party?
especially after what Trudeau has done to Canada in the last 10 years. And he brings back the same clowns. Like, seriously, I think that's a huge point. I remember people were bringing it up. It's like, are you kidding me? The person that destroyed our budget in Canada, he brings back and just transferred it to a little butter position. And then the
Fairly
same with
upward.
this Fraser dude. It's like, it's a complete, it's a shock. It's that he just walks in his black and white suit and he just butters everybody. He's so smart. He's very smooth, very savvy, smart. And I think he's the best leader at the best possible time in our history. And he needs Alberta like he needs probably more than any other province to step on board and work collectively as a nation, as Canada. No more interprovincial politics and fighting and infighting. Let's just open up. We have the second largest country in the world. We have the most resources in the world, and we're positioned in latitude and longitude and surrounded by three of the major oceans of the world that we can access. We don't need certain neighbors and business partners because I think that whole situation is gone. We can just go around those routes and look at Mexico and look at Central America and Europe and so on. So Alberta, I think this is the time that she's like using leverage to say, "Hey, you better not forget about us," because that's where the threat comes in. Am I wrong? Is that
I
what
hope
she's doing?
everything you said about him being the leader. I'm rooting for that. Do I think it's going to happen? Don't know, but I am rooting for that. I hope it
So am
works.
I. I think all of us are, and that's why it was such a strange election. Is because most people were desperate and they had to believe that this guy was better than the I don't even know what to say to the guy because I know your province is a very conservative province, and I guess that was the only choice, right? In Canada's parliamentary structure. you've got to vote for someone in your. It could be a neighbor you don't even like, but he's a conservative. You got to vote for him because you're interested in perhaps having Pierre Poilievre be the new leader of Canada. That's how it works, right? Unless
Yeah.
in Alberta it's different than British Columbia.
Well, you guys voted more conservative this year.
We actually lost. I think it was 338 because of the NDP volume of Surrey. And they had to recount Surrey 3 times, and they found 338 extra votes, and
Right.
NDP got in. And by the way, NDP set that up, so you can say that there was a conspiracy there or not.
What do
The
I always say?
Conservatives were closer than they've ever been. Let's put it that
There's
way.
no such thing as coincidence.
No, not at all. But is Rustad? I mean, we're doing Finding Alberta. We're not doing Finding British Columbia.
Yeah,
So,
well, we
um,
need British Columbia as a partner. They're the ones not
what do
helping.
you guys on your radio show? Johnny, I told you about it. It's on the ticker. Trenton and his friend Ben Poulin, the founder and host of the Ben Poulin radio show on Spotify. They've done over 50 shows,
Hmm.
and
Most for
they talk. You guys talk a lot about Alberta politics and
our
everything.
community.
So what's on the tip aside from separation? Do anybody actually believe that you would separate from the greatest country in the world?
No, most of the people, I think most of the people in St. Paul are fairly smart enough to know that that's just not a good thing for us. It won't, we never like the 51st state thing, Johnny. This is the one thing I'll tell you that makes me laugh about this. Right? It tells me how uh, I'd like to think sometimes that people are either willfully ignorant or they're dumb, and I'm just
Little both,
leaning more and
sometimes.
more to the latter all the time. And when I tell you this, you'll understand why. So we have the third largest oil deposit in the entire world in northern Alberta.
Hmm.
A lot of people make a living doing it. A lot of people. Well, those guys that I work with, some of them, I know that they live month to month, check to check, even with families, and making really good money because who knows, they got to have a quad, whatever they have to have for toys and spend their money on, right? Well, there'll be a sticker on the door when 2012 came. We had a bit of a slowdown for about a year and a half. There was a sticker on guys would have a sticker on their hard hat, or it was on the door, and it said, "Please God, let there be one more boom. I promise I won't spend all my money." Really? Like,
The
go,
Pinocchio syndrome.
go smoke some more crack or whatever it is you're doing because it's just like I said, just leaning more and more to the dumb part. It drives me crazy.
Hey,
All you
just
What,
I always say, just because you got money doesn't mean you got brains
no.
uh, not even
What
about money.
or
what about
taste.
employment in Alberta? What's the employment rate like? Are there a lot of job opportunities for people there?
Tons of jobs.
There
Yeah,
you go. I mean, that's all you need, really.
yeah.
Good
To have a
paying,
good
good paying
society.
jobs and less tax, Johnny,
Yeah, there you go. Good
and
recipe.
less
No,
money for
no,
gas.
no PST.
No
Gas,
PST,
gas is
better
at one.
better prices for booze and food.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, no PST is really nice on all that kind of stuff.
So, I
It's
mean,
7%.
how much is this escalating? Because I never watch the news. It just brings me down. Are people protesting in the streets?
No, no,
Is this a snowball effect, do you foresee?
people are too effing lazy to do any protesting. Give me a break.
Too cold? Too cold for protesting?
Too
It's like
stoned.
just
Everybody's
too.
just baked on the
Oh,
couch having chips, just
they're just too
watching their
lazy.
favorite show.
They're too lazy doing that. They're at a lake or they're quadding or doing something. They don't
Yeah,
have.
still baked, spending all that money they promised they'd never spend.
It's definitely, like I said, I think with her lowering the petition standard to like 170, I firmly believe that you're going to get enough signatures that they could
Oh, no
call
problem.
type of a referendum vote, which is, I
No
think,
problem.
you know what? I think we're at that point that it probably, because this has been talked about for a decade, if not more, right? About this happening. Like we're getting screwed all the time. And we are, but it was always being talked about. And I think we're at that boiling point finally that, okay, it's reached its point that here's what we got to do. So let's do it. Let's find out that more people don't want to be, or more people want to be part of Canada than don't, and then all the rest of them can shut up, go back to work, and let's keep pushing for the change that we want.
Get over it.
Right?
So honestly, I think Danielle knows that she cannot try to handcuff Canada as a nation and the new prime minister and get her way. But I think really she's really trying to use this as leverage, and I think it's a good call. And I agree with you what you just said. With 170, I think get out and vote. then everybody knows, and everybody
Yeah.
can move on, and we can make Canada stronger. At the end of the day, it's not going to make Canada stronger if we have provinces leaving left and right. And by the way, once you leave, you're not going to get back in. So where are you going to go?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense. So is this basically a power play or payback, where payback is needed for 50 years of neglect and overpaying for stuff that we don't get back? And then you see your neighbors and other provinces benefiting from all of this. It gets to a boiling point. It's like a volcano exploding or a
Well,
huge bulging cyst in your arm.
sorry.
And it's inevitable that you've got to clean the gook out. And when that happens, everything becomes clearer and we can move forward as a nation of one. I don't know. I'm idealistic, if you will.
Doesn't Alberta benefit from the other provinces?
Do we what?
Doesn't Alberta benefit from the other provinces? Isn't there a quid pro quo in some ways?
In some things, yeah, for sure. No
Okay.
question.
Any
I don't
specific
think.
examples that you can think of?
Uh, I'm trying to think product wise what we get that we don't get from Saskatchewan or BC that we get from
Grain, grain,
Ontario.
And you guys, Molson beer?
Pardon me.
Do we send you
beef.
guys Molson beer? Molson beer is brewed here.
Yeah, there you go. It's
No,
Labatt's was
no.
here at one time, but
Yeah, no.
um,
Molson was bought out by Coors, American company.
Oh,
Coors Light and
I will
Molson are
say
together.
this. I think we all. I guess the message that I have because it's. I'd rather. I'm trying to be positive about it, and it's like I had somebody ask me via Facebook because we're having this because I was telling them how the liberals and the conservatives are basically the uniparty. They basically do the same things. They just get to that place in a different way, just like we all do in life. We all have a goal of if our happiness is to own our house and be able to retire. Let's say that's your happiness in life. That's where you're trying to get to. Well, if we all three of us get there, all three of us took a different way to get there.
right.
So we're all trying to get to the same place. Well, that's the same as these political parties. They're the uniparty. It doesn't matter which one you vote for. You get a little bit of difference between the two, fiscally and socially. But outside of what gets done nationally, when it comes to like pipelines and roads and all that kind of stuff, they're the uniparty. And house building, everything. And so one guy's like, well, then it's just a flip of a coin. And then one guy piped in and said, well, what do you do about it, Trent? Or what do we do about it? And I said, I honestly don't know. I said, all I can hope for is that we have a referendum vote and it shows our federal government and the rest of the country that people are to really look at what's been going on the last 4 decades and understand why people in this province feel this way. And maybe, just maybe, like, they'll let us be a part of it and we can just move on. That's my hope. That's my glass half full hope.
I think your prognostication will come to pass.
Yeah, I'm an optimist.
Because I've been hearing about separating. Paul and I, we all grew up with this. Just all this doom and gloom in the end of the world. Tomorrow's another day. We should take it for granted that the sun will come out tomorrow, Annie style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And all the fluff and loveliness at the end of the day, and hugs and peace, love, and everything is absolutely needed in the 21st century. But also, what's needed is practicality, pragmatism. We've realized how many mistakes our governments have made. It's quite obvious. It's literally a litany of failure across the board. So I think we finally have a guy who has fixed Canada before and saved Canada. People don't realize that our current prime minister came in and was the Bank of Canada. He controlled the finance during the worst financial collapse of our lifetimes in 2008. He guided us through. Canada was the only country in the world to get through this without too much pain and suffering in a 6 to 9 month window where several countries went on for years. Then he went in and helped the transition of the United Kingdom, one of the strongest countries in the world financially with the British pound, prior to entering the euro, and guide them back to Brexit and lead that to regain their independence, and was successful. And he is not only a true Canadian in that he was a goalie, and he grew up in the Northwest Territories on the border of Nanya, and he was an educated, hardworking Canadian dude. This is the guy that is going to lead us for the next 4 years. I wouldn't be surprised if he leads us for the next 10 years. and it will be far better than anything that the clown show did for the last decade. That's just my opinion. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And I really feel, and I think the vast majority of Canadians, whether you're voting conservative, by the way, the conservatives lost 25% of the vote because they get tired of Polyev and his baby whining and his
No,
attitude.
I'll explain to you
And
what
I,
I'll
no,
explain.
I know that's why we brought you on, but in the last
in the last
1 month, 2 months of bringing this guy on, and he's the prime minister in a short period of time, people just changed their votes. Conservatives, Greens, NDP, and they said, "This is the best guy." You know what the number one reason was? They were scared to death of what's happening with the situation in America, and they felt that this guy was the guy to be able to deal with that better than anybody else. That's the only reason why they voted for him, because he has social, economic, financial wizardry. The guy went to Harvard, he went to Yale, and he did everything that he's accomplished. He's not a drama teacher. Yeah, he's never been an elected official. It doesn't matter. That's my point.
Okay,
Well
well,
said. Well said.
when I'll give the prime minister, who is Stephen Harper, a conservative, a little more credit than uh,
Most people.
this guy, the Carney, and then also, yeah, he did some good things with England and Brexit and all that. But there's some stuff too that was a little bit sketchy. He is not a very popular or well liked man in Britain. I can tell you that, and you can go find articles on that. He's just not a popular
Well,
guy.
he's
So,
extremely well respected.
right.
You
Sure,
don't have to like someone, but you can respect them.
fair enough. Yeah, and that's fair. I think on the conservative side, if the election would have been held 6 months ago, uh, it would have been a landslide. Might have been the biggest majority ever in the history of our government.
Absolutely.
But the Liberals know what they're doing. The part of politics of not calling a snap election and stepping down, closing Parliament for all of us for 3 months because we're
Yeah.
going to find a new leader. They knew what they were doing. They took
Oh, yeah.
3 months to rebrand themselves. We're not Justin Trudeau. Blah blah blah. All that nonsense, and people believe it, just like they believe the guy down south is great. Those same type of people. What happened with the Conservatives was they ran at the start on axe the tax. Okay, that's great. I don't want to pay carbon tax either. It's a ridiculous tax. It doesn't even make sense. But you can't run on that for 4 years. One slogan. So the Liberals and the NDP, I give them credit. The NDP did. I didn't like that the NDP teamed with the Liberals. I think it was totally illegal for them to do it at the federal level to keep them in power. But they did get one good thing, and that was the child care dental stuff up to 13 years old being part of healthcare. I think that's super important. I think it's something we always should have had. Other than that, they're a useless party. But instead, and then they did some housing stuff. But instead of embracing that, Polivier and
And
them,
quick interjection, the vast majority of the 19 million people that voted in Canada agree with you, Trent. NDP lost 7 seats, and Bloc Québécois lost
they
8
went
seats.
they went more liberal than they did conservative. But so instead of embracing some of the good stuff, you can vote against some of it. You don't have a majority, so you're losing. But instead of embracing, saying, "Hey, I'm going to keep that stuff. I'm going to keep the child dental care. I'm going to keep these policies and this policy. I'm getting rid of the tax one. That's what we ran on." But they didn't do that. They ran on the same thing, and until a month before the election, that Carney's the leader, all of a sudden, the conservatives were keeping the dental act, keeping all. You should have been doing that for a year. But all you kept doing was axe the tax, and that was all your talking points, and that's all those rallies ever were. And that, I think, they huge misstep politically. I think whoever the campaign managers were and stuff like that, I think they made a huge misstep in how they did this campaign, because they could have embraced some of these policies a year ago and even said, "Hey, here's how we're going to improve them." Because the biggest voter of Liberal was 55 plus in Canada. That was
Yeah,
their biggest
not
block,
surprising.
right? So, yeah, just
That's a
I
good
think
point.
I
I
think
really
that's why
think
they
that's a
lost.
very
I
good,
really
very
do.
good point.
So,
But you know what? And to further enhance that comment, because it's a really good comment, and you're 100% correct, is that what it does is also the Liberals and what they did in a period of 3 or 4 months was remarkable. They turned the pages and a 30% swing, which is unheard of. Probably never happened in politics in Canada. But Polyev, prior to his collapse, also got the second most votes in the history of Canada,
yeah,
and he lost his own seat.
yeah, I know. Yeah, did you see that though? There was 90, actually, sorry,
91.
91 people running in his riding.
It's just
Like, come on,
ridiculous.
come on, Canada
Yeah.
elections.
And
Like,
how many of those were
I
Russian
mean,
bots?
no, and not just that. They're just one guy who's a protest, so he's just going to put his name in. Well,
I
that's
know.
one vote. That might be 5 votes, right? And when you lose by 100, it's totally ridiculous. Election Canada should be embarrassed because there's about 4 or 5 ridings like that. A couple in the Atlantic coast too, where there's like 85 people on the ballot for
Yeah.
one riding. So
So what do you think? What do you think's going to happen? Do you think that obviously we don't know it's going to happen? All I mean, at the end of the day, you were born and raised in Alberta, and
yep.
it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in my life. And as Albertans, what are the things that you really enjoy most about Alberta that you love? Is it the taxes? Is it the affordability?
Yeah, I think all that goes in. I think the big thing for me here, like after living in Edmonton and Vancouver and other bigger cities,
Victoria?
Victoria, even Lloydminster on the border is 30,000. Um, I I just find we have a lot of small communities in Alberta. Like I can live somewhere we have 5,600 people. I can drive 25 minutes away. There's another town that's like 6,500 people or 5,500, and then 20 minutes from there, so 40 minutes from me, there's another town that has like 5 to 7,000 people. So now you have these communities that are all intertwined, and most of the communities are small enough that you get to know everybody, kind of thing.
Sounds nice. Nice.
It's a neat feel, and it's a lot more laid back, right? Like when I come see you in Vancouver, let's say, if I'm there for 2 days, I see more vehicles in 2 days in Vancouver than I see in 6 months here.
Yeah.
Driving on a highway and stuff like that, right? It's just, and Paul's been to my place. Like I can sit in my backyard, and it's peaceful. It's like there's not people hustling and bustling and car noises and just Vancouver's such. I mean, I loved Vancouver when I moved there at 23 for a couple of years, but it got to the point when you can't go anywhere where there's always just a lot of people. Like I like
Yeah,
to
you
do.
should, Trent. You should clarify for everybody the reason why Trent
So,
enjoys what he has because he lives on a 16th hole of a golf course,
yeah,
and he has a beautiful jacuzzi and a fire pit, and a beautiful wife and daughter, and a dog, and a nice car, a great job, more
Just
sunshine than he
living the
could
dream.
do. I mean, he's living the dream. He's living the Canadian dream, and that's what Albertans have. They are extremely fortunate being an outsider from British Columbia and always being in awe and curious and a little bit jealous of Albertans because all of my Canadian relatives that lived in Calgary and Edmonton and Alberta and friends and so on would always tell me all these pros, and they would never complain about the cons. Yeah, it's cold as hell for 6 months of the year,
weather sucks.
and you got to drive with
Well,
studs
there's
in your
always a
tires.
trade-off.
What's that?
There's always a trade-off. Where's
Yeah,
Alberta?
yeah.
Perfect.
But I mean, it is one of the most beautiful places in Canada, and I do not want to see Alberta go
No,
at
me
all.
neither. That's not going to happen. No.
No, no, it's
That's
the likelihood that that's going to
you're right.
happen is the same likelihood that will become the 51st. That will not happen. It's 90, what they say, 97.8% of Canadians on a many polls they did just absolutely started laughing,
Yeah.
swore, and
Good.
said no effing way,
Yeah.
and my dying
If
breath.
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
That's Canadians though. That's not Albertans. There's Albertans here that they've switched their F Trudeau stickers or they've kept them on their trucks and they've added a 51st state sticker to their truck.
I know it's frightening.
Oh,
So those are going to be the. You're going to say that out of the 170,000 that vote, or whatever it is, you're going to say that probably a vast majority of right wing conservatives are going to be probably 50%.
well, dude, there's already groups formed. There's already groups online that have lawyers that are formed. They're this
Yeah.
is the just waiting for this, right? This
No, I'm aware of it. It's not just it's in the West Coast. It's prevalent in Washington State, Oregon, Idaho. There are a lot of states that are south of us and our neighbors that are have very similar interests as Albertans, right?
Well, we need BC to become a better partner. That's for sure.
Yeah. Good luck with our
Yeah,
current
Paul,
government.
be a better partner.
We need
Go the line.
we need yeah we need
I work on that every day, Johnny. Trust me.
we need
Try
to be
try being
I
married
know.
for
I don't
25
know,
years,
bro.
bro.
Northern Gateway pipeline up north, and the pipeline that we were going to have through out to Burnaby to Tawasin.
Hey,
We
Trent,
shipped
could you speak up a little bit?
yeah, shipping.
Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't know anything. You guys, Alberta's in a unique position, and where you have all of these resources that nobody else has. You say we're the second largest or third largest.
Third, yep.
And okay, so what can we do aside from the very obvious things we should have done 50 years ago? Refineries, pipelines, and now it's happening. Is there anything that we can do to get can Carney do to get the ball going? Like what does Danielle
And
Smith, what do Albertans want?
he 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 in the debate he brought it up saying, hey, we need pipelines to both coasts for energy independence. He brought it up. Hey, we need to deal with indigenous groups and make sure that we're doing this the right way. All that, blah, yada yada yada. And I mean, I don't think people realize that we, when you said we don't have to rely on anybody, if we had pipelines of both oil and natural gas to both
We'd be
coasts,
rolling.
we would be energy sufficient for our own country. We'd be selling the product for billions of dollars to everyone else, but we just can't all seem to get. Everybody doesn't realize how much it benefits all of us, right? And again, I always like to try to tell everybody, we're all in this together at the end of the day, but we don't act that way, right?
No.
So, and that's what's troubling sometimes, and I understand it, but it is troubling sometimes because you don't look at it in the general light. You just look what's in front. Like Johnny said, you look into the next day. I mean,
Yeah.
but people don't look at it that we are all in this together, even with different views.
But
But
I think in order for us to come together as a nation, we can't be independent on interprovincial fighting
sure,
and gossip and this is better, ours better. Canada's the best country in the world, and it's obvious. Let's remove all of the barriers and have an open Canada, everybody free flowing, and let's all benefit Canadians. I mean, we've got people that are. You should see what the South Koreans did in the news today. They want to, in 4 years, completely retrofit our terribly outdated armed forces Canada wide. In 4 years, they can deliver us planes, tanks, submarines, naval ships. And because of our location and the fact that we're the 10th largest country in the world in terms of business volume, and we have the Russians up north, 60 miles across the Bering Strait, then we've
Boo.
got Alaskans, which we love, and then we've got Greenland, which we
Yay.
love, and then we've got
Yay.
Nunavut, which is part of our country. So we have access to Europe, anywhere in the world, and we're set up for complete independence. We just have to do it. Why has it not happened?
dollar bills, y'all. Lobbyists, people with money that keep the people that you
Environmental
vote for
groups.
stuff against you because they get money. Think about, you know what, the best one for this, Paul, is cannabis. Cannabis not being legal for the last 50 years is totally ridiculous, right? And it was the pharmaceutical lobbyists that are paying our politicians, the people that work for us, paying them, physically paying them. People can say, oh, they're not
By the
paying.
way, those same
They're paying.
pharmaceutical companies are making medical marijuana for
Exactly.
Canadians.
And that's what I mean. So that's, I mean, it's craziness, right? It's just utter.
It's madness. It's
It's,
madness.
it's like it's just for profit. So there's a reason we don't have a lot of things, and it's because of money. It's because of money and control
So,
of
is there any
power.
hope for Canadians? Is there any hope for Canada?
Yeah, well, I mean, we need again.
Run for office, Trent.
What's that? Run for
Run for
office?
office. Start your own party.
I'm
The
definitely.
Rowley party.
I'd let.
Catch me.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was approached uh, the last election, provincial election, by the Alberta party to run in this riding.
I believe it. I mean, you speak well.
They're like the centrist party, so they're kind of center rightish, but they're centerish more, and that's who I am. Like fiscally, I'm conservative, but socially, I'm liberal, and that's
I
most
think
people.
most people are.
I think most people are, right? And that's what I mean. People
They're
don't
no,
realize
no,
we have
quote
more in
unquote.
common than we have more in
No, me
common than
too.
we
I'm a
do.
centralist. I
Right?
agree with Trent. I follow that.
I mean, we have more in common than we have differences. We really do. We just don't
For sure.
see it sometimes, right? So, but the big thing for me is uh, uh, is the representation part, right? Because if you look at like the really good example, like I was looking at it this year, was the Maritime provinces have 2.4 million people. Alberta has 4.4 million people. They have 32 federal seats. Alberta has 37. So each voter has 55% more representation in the federal government than residents of Alberta. Meanwhile, we give, in the history of equalization, we've given 80 some billion dollars
A
to
minor imbalance.
right? It's crazy. And so I think the big thing when you talk about the province, like we wanted to talk about what the problem was, I think if anybody with half a brain can understand that, people are finally gotten to the point they're like, okay, this isn't work. This isn't fair. This isn't and like I said, I think most people feel themselves as Canadian, but at the same time they're like, I've kind of had, I've kind of had enough of this. We're the ones give, and everybody just wants to keep pushing back on. I think the biggest thing is, like I said before, is just the misinformation that we deal with today. Nobody, these people, they only see pictures of the oil sands, of the big pools and the stuff above ground. Yeah, it looks shitty, but they don't see all the land. They had over 55,000 hectares of land that they reclaimed that have buffalo on them up north right now after 10 years. They don't show all the other stuff they do. When they
Right.
complain about oil in the river, well, the oil is actually in the river, people. It's coming on the one reserve. There was a big problem, and they looked at it, and there's like, guys, there's a deposit right here. Nobody's mining it or anything. It's just seeping out of the ground naturally. It's
Right.
going to happen,
Right.
right? So people just get this disinformation of how terrible it is and
Their
terrible.
brains run on emotion over logic.
And that's what happens. And then Alberta's the one. Everybody in Alberta's a hillbilly. Everybody's a redneck. Meanwhile, University of Alberta Hospital, top 10 hospital revered in the world for research. The cardiologist department at the University of Alberta is in the top echelon of the entire world. Right? It's not like Alberta doesn't have some great things, right? And it's been paid. I mean, guess what? We have the oil field again. We have the third largest deposit in the world.
So what do we need to do right now for Alberta to flourish instantly and feel like they're a part of something special?
Pipelines,
What can be done?
pipelines to the east and west coast. That's how it starts.
Why hasn't it happened?
I just told you, man. Money, people involved with money.
And
But the money,
prejudice,
the
I would
money, the
imagine.
money that can be made is far more substantial.
Yeah, but it's being made by other people, not by them. They're losing a percentage.
Paul, not very many people in the world think as clearly as you do.
Well,
Well,
People are clouded by their
sometimes
people are
I don't
clouded
think
by
I
their
think clearly.
prejudices and by
I'm
their
asking, I'm not trying to think
fair.
clearly. I'm just trying to ask questions, right? I mean, that's why, because I know nothing about Alberta. The
Well,
only thing I know about Alberta is the property tax. It's cheaper booze and gas. People are really friendly.
I'm going cheaper booze.
Everyone drives a really awesome truck. They love sports. They love drinking beer, and they love their toys. And I would love to have a log home on a fishing lake with toys. I would love that. That's my
yeah.
dream as a British Columbian. And if I can do it in Alberta and it's cheaper, I will. Unfortunately, my wife cannot live in an igloo for 6, 7 months of the year. That's
Yeah,
my reality.
it's a tough go.
He's nuts. No, it's teasing.
I
I'm
think
telling
what's
you.
big too, not just Alberta. I think for Canada in general. I was looking at some stuff this morning and some stuff I didn't know that. Uh, I think we need some reform in our elections and even in our charter, our constitution. I think we need to cut ourselves from the whole monarchy nonsense. I don't care about the Queen. I don't care about Britain. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying we are our own country. We shouldn't be. I shouldn't be paying somebody a $200,000 salary to be the governor general, to be the person that reports to the kingdom for us. That I don't need that person. That's not who we are.
Yeah.
We should be our own. We need to.
But
We
by
need
the
to
way,
find our own.
kingdom is coming to visit to make sure that we keep on giving them
Yeah, and
millions and millions of
that
dollars
needs
of
to stop.
pounds.
We need to move on from that. I think that's a big
Well,
change.
we need to move on after they've come because Trent likes to think that he's going to be the next pope.
Yeah, no, not at all. So another thing, I'm just going to go through some random things, so you can comment on this. So I didn't realize like the structure of our Supreme Court, federal court, it works against equality and representation as well because federal court judges are mandated to live in the Ottawa region, meaning they are disconnected from all the other parts of Canada
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
because they
crazy.
have to live there, right? And it just, I mean, again, in addition, official bilingual requirements disqualify an overwhelming majority of qualified Albertans from ever serving on the Supreme
Yeah, how
Court.
many people in Alberta speak French, right?
Oh, dude, we have French schools, full on French schools in every town,
Yeah,
dude.
I believe it.
But this area of Alberta is all French, Ukrainian, and German.
Hmm.
And it's like, so we have an École de Sommet in all these communities. We have 3 different junior highs and 2 different high schools, even with the smaller communities that we have, because we have French immersion schools here. So lots of people speak French in Alberta. You'd be surprised. And there's a
Well,
big
it was
business
mandatory. It's
yeah,
mandatory in BC growing up
yeah.
in my
So
Catholic system.
exactly. Um,
Well, oh, sorry, go ahead.
and then, like I said to you before, between 1981 and 2018, 1 trillion to Ottawa, 600 billion back, $400 billion deficit. Right.
What a dip.
Um,
No offense. Offense.
yeah. Well.
If we have any gypsy listeners, no offense.
Yeah.
I have, before we go, I don't know if you want to say anything more, Trent, but I have some fun facts about Alberta on my
I
phone.
want to hear some of these.
Shall we do that, or do you want to continue with this discourse?
Yeah. No, I definitely want to. We can continue
Discourse
with
sounds so negative, you
yeah.
know?
I got a couple here. In the
Yeah.
1940s, Britain had a plan to create an aircraft carrier made out of ice and actually built a prototype in Alberta. Alberta is home to the world's largest beaver dam, which is visible from space. Alberta is home to the world's largest dinosaur, a 26-meter high fiberglass Tyrannosaurus Rex in the town of Drumheller. What else do we have here? There's a town named Vulcan. I like that. The Caesar cocktail was created in 1969 by Walter Schell, restaurant manager, Caesar Steakhouse. Ginger beef is actually an Albertan invention. George Wong of Calgary is credited with the creation of everyone's favorite. The bear-proof garbage can. Everyone needs to have one of those. I don't care where you live. Was engineered by Dennis Neufeld in 1983. Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong was
Right.
born in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Michael J. Fox was born in Edmonton. The famous five were 5 prominent Canadian suffragists. They argued that women should be considered persons under the British North America Act. Well, of course they should. The youngest person to ever head a government in Canada was from Alberta. Joe Clark was 39 years old when he took the helm of the Progressive Conservatives. And those are my fun facts about Alberta. You're welcome.
Well, we also, yeah, there's some good ones in there. And also, as I was telling you earlier, every little town in Alberta has a monument of some kind, whatever they are. So, like like I said, we have the world's only uh, alien landing pad. Paul's been there. Paul visited there. He's seen it. It's a real thing.
Yeah,
It's
it is real, and it's small for
Now, was that tax funded? Did the taxpayer pay for that?
the library's connected to it, so it's even better.
Wow. I'm just wondering who paid for that.
Oh, I'm sure we did.
Our
I
tax
mean,
dollars well spent.
I wasn't living here, so I'm sure that's how it came about.
has the huge piece of pepperoni.
Paul, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
There, is that better?
Much
Yeah.
better, 100%.
So, what was a town? Is there not a town where they have like I've seen big pigs, I've seen a big church, I've seen. Is there not one of these Drumheller or one of these places that had a big piece of pepperoni or something?
No, that was Mundare. They had the
Oh,
sausage.
that's it. That's the
Yeah.
one, Mondare.
And
Man,
then
that sausage is so
it's
good, eh?
yeah, it's
Oh, every time we drive by Traco's, you want to get some? I'm like, what do you? Don't even ask.
see, I
Just
never
pull
buy
in.
it. I only ever buy it when he's here because we drive by it going back from Edmonton Airport, picking him up back home.
We're gonna get some.
And we stop there every time because he goes in there and grabs a couple pepperoni sticks and he's just like
And,
over in the,
and
you know what?
beef jerky,
Best
man.
thing
I go
about
to
it,
town
Joe,
on some beef jerky.
the best thing about it, I get it like 45 minutes, almost all the way the rest of the way home of like just listening to music and not him talking at all
Yeah.
because he's just eating.
Well, it's actually one way for him to turn off all the sports radio shows and listen to baseball and hockey and golf. I mean, I love sports, but I just don't want to listen to it.
Hip hop music.
I'd rather listen to Trent's, you know, whatever tidbits of conversation. It's
Yeah.
usually one word answers. And I'm just hoping that 90 minutes turns into 1 minute and we get back to his quickly. I get some pepperoni, and we're gonna do shopping too because we got the Edmonton Mall.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
wanted to ask about that. What's West Edmonton Mall is the biggest mall in the world? Is that correct?
I think it is. It,
I don't know
I
about
think
that.
it's. I think
No.
it's the second to the one in Minneapolis. I
And they
think
have
the.
and there's an amusement park like a roller coaster.
Oh yeah, there's a roller
Right?
coaster and the water park and bungee
There's a
Wow,
jump.
submarine ride.
Yeah,
that
there's.
sounds really cool.
It's yeah, it's crazy. It's yeah.
It's huge, man.
I haven't been there forever because yeah, it's just not a. I don't know. Not I don't need
We
to go.
went there about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I just don't need to go. It's whatever.
Yeah.
It's for me. It's
Now we're gonna golf,
crime.
and we're gonna. I was thinking that maybe next time, Trent, you mentioned it about maybe bringing Ben on and doing a little Alberta as well. I thought maybe that would have been good, but I wanted to just have one instead of two fighting for because it's only 90 minutes, right?
I would let him because he even knows more. He's right into it. So
Ben
Well,
is
we should.
your partner in crime.
yeah,
Well, let's see what happens with the new prime minister and how Danielle. We'll see what happens, and
I'm rooting for him. I didn't vote for him, but I'm rooting for him. It's not like I just because I didn't see. There's the problem that we've talked about, right? Politics. Do you like sports, Johnny, at all?
No, sorry.
Okay, don't be sorry.
But I know where you're going with this, and it's why
But
I don't dislike sports, but the whole tribal aspect of it turns me off.
and social media politics never used to be like that until social media, until that we had those other outlets of people to be able to push information somewhere, and then when you watch, I always tell people on like Ben and I have told people many times. I tell them to go watch Social Dilemma on Netflix, and it explains how the algorithms work, how this Facebook thing and Twitter thing works. So you only get the information that you desire, right? And now politics has become like sports. It's my team now. It's not about what they do for
Right?
me. It's my team. It doesn't matter what they do. That's my team. It doesn't
It's
matter.
all about the tribe.
Uh, That's what social
You're
media is.
looking, carrying the right flag and wearing the right colors and all
Yeah,
that nonsense.
and that's what it's become down south and here. That's what it's
That's very
become.
sad.
It's crazy. Yeah, it sucks. Like
Mm,
you
yeah,
can't have a conversation that that's the thing that you miss. You can't have just a conversation with people or even a debate because now it's an argument. It's not even a debate of different ideas. Now you don't believe my idea.
yeah.
Well, my truth, my truth is
The
more
gospel.
truthier than your truth.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear your truth. Like you can't even have those conversations. And as soon as I hear someone, I told somebody this last night. If I'm having a conversation with somebody about news or something, and someone says to me, uses the phrase fake news, then I just make sure I steer the topic somewhere else because as soon as you
yeah,
use that term, I
Yeah,
just
you
know.
don't want to fall down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, I tell people this. I busted a friend of mine, and we chuckled about it later, but I think I caught him off guard. So we were talking about something. And he goes, "Oh, Trent, that's fake news." And I looked at him. I go, "Dave," I said, "if I went on your Facebook feed, I said I could go to 2010. I said until 2015, until Donald Trump ran, you never used the term fake news in your life, not once." And he just looked at me kind of stunned, like I'd say it that way. But I'm going, I don't want to hear that. That's not the, that's not. You're just not. You just don't want to have the conversation because maybe you don't know what I'm
They're
talking.
very insecure, those kinds of people.
Yeah,
no, he just doesn't realize he's been hypnotized. He's been programmed,
it's just
believing
terrible.
when you lie 18 million times, people believe it after a while.
Hey man, that's the Goebbels playbook, man. Say it loud enough and say it enough times, and people will believe you. He
Yeah.
wrote that down for God's sakes. I think
Yeah.
that's history books, right? It's happening right in front of us.
Well, that's why he's such a good cult leader, and he's such a psychopath. I think it's just going to fall apart. It's just got to fall apart. I've been saying that for
For the
15
country.
years. The guy just gets away with everything. But seriously, how much more? What are we going to wake up tomorrow? At least we don't have that in Canada. At least we don't have Daniel
No,
Smith, who's like a complete mental case. Like she's articulate and educated, and she doesn't suffer fools gladly, and she's got
right.
a bit of a hard ass to her, and I like that. I don't know nothing about her.
Yeah,
Is the overall impression in Albertans, Trent? Is she well liked percentage wise?
she's yeah, but I would say her as the leader, I think gets looked at. There's no in between. You either like her or you don't like her. There's no like people that are melancholy on her kind of thing, right? I pulled that out just for the author. I used melancholy. You like that, John? That was pretty good. Eh?
I was just gonna say, I love that word.
Did I use that right?
Poetic,
Did I use it right?
melancholy.
Did I use it right?
You nailed it, 100%.
Perfect. I'm a jock, dude. I'm not. That's not a
10 out
flaw.
of 10. 10.
I wanted to bring.
You
I
know, but
wanted
you
to
know,
sort
but
of pull it off. But
Trent,
that's what I would say. There's nobody in between. It's
but
either
isn't
here
that the
or your
same
life.
with everybody that is the premier of Alberta? That they're all. It's always going to be that way.
I think it's like that with most leaders, is it not? I mean,
That's what I mean. It won't change.
no. I mean,
But there are leaders like Carney, where he can transcend an entire group that would never vote for him ever because they're worried about the future of Canada and the future of Alberta and the future of Quebec and Ontario and every other province. This is, I think, at a turning point time where this guy came in at the right time, and I just feel he's the right person, and I hope he respects Alberta. I hope Alberta gets the fair results that they want.
Yeah, PM. Respect Alberta, damn it. You're
I'm.
out.
If this guy as premier reaches half of your expectations and what you want, I think we'll do all right then. So
There you
because
go.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, my expectations are rather tepid. I'm hopeful. I really don't have much political leanings, although I found that ever since I became a Canadian about 10 years ago, and I started voting, I started to realize that my vote counts and it should count. At least it counts for me. And that's just one person. But if I don't vote, then I can't bitch about it. Then I
Right.
can't moan about it. Then I can't, at least by voting, I can at least
get
follow
to upset.
what all Canadians should be doing. We should all be voting.
Yeah, of course. I always tell people if you don't vote, then you don't get to bitch about it. You
Right.
didn't take.
That's exactly what I say.
You didn't take the 10 minutes to whatever it is to vote, the
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
to get there and vote. You didn't take part in that, then you can just be quiet. So
Fair
So,
enough.
Trent, is there anything else you'd like to finish up with Alberta? Or is there one last thing that you'd like to say that you wanted to get across to everybody about your
well,
thoughts?
we do get the most sunshine by percentage in all of Canada. People don't realize that.
Calgary gets more sunshine than any other Canadian city,
So we we you don't equate days that are minus 30 with sunshine, but when it's minus 30 out and more,
and it's
or
sunny.
50, it is like clister the bluest sky you'd ever see and the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's minus
Beautiful.
30.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that part of Alberta is great. I mean, obviously we have the Rocky Mountains with Banff National Park. I mean, Calgary, Southern Alberta is a wonderful place with like
Canmore. More.
Drumheller, like you mentioned, with the
Yeah.
Badlands.
Yeah.
Like frick, man, they've filmed so many westerns down there in Hollywood,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the Drumheller area.
I think Unforgiven was filmed in there.
Yep, that was filmed
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Clint Eastwood did a couple films there as well. Unforgiven was done. Some parts of that was done there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really good. They've done a lot in the last 25. The Last of Us series has been filmed in Calgary and Alberta a bunch from 18
Great
months
series.
ago. And so they're I think in the last decade, Alberta's actually growing when it comes to that entertainment stuff for sure, because of what we have here, right? And then you come north, and it's lakes everywhere and fish everywhere,
Yeah.
and just
Beautiful.
a
Beautiful.
laid back way of lifestyle, living in
Yeah.
communities
Yeah.
anywhere from 2,000 people, 500 people to 10,000 people, and a couple cities in between that are 30 to 50,000 that are big hubs, but I'm an hour and a half away from a city like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nice.
Absolutely.
Kind of, it's more. I just find it more relaxing, and I love the city, John. I loved Vancouver when I lived there, but I got to the point where it's just people
Too
everywhere
much
all the
hustle
time.
and
Too
bustle.
much. Too
Well,
much.
just people everywhere all the time. Like it was, when I first moved there in '92, we go down to the Sunset Grill, Blage and I, and just the regulars were there. It was dead in there all the time. By the 2.5 years of living there, it was always packed with people, and it was just like, hey, I can't even come down here anymore just to have a beer. Like it's just packed in here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Vancouver's there's just so many people. It's like I had a great time living there. I was young. I was 23. I mean, it was a ball. But yeah, I'd never live in a city again. I'll never live in a city again unless I'm being paid ridiculous amount of money to be there. It's
Applause the best of both worlds.
this life is too easy. That's how I would look at it living here in Alberta that way.
Life is good, Trent. Life is good. Hey, Johnny, what would you like? What would you like? What did you learn about Alberta today?
Gosh. I mean, it sounds like a place that I'd like to visit, but I probably prefer to stay in Vancouver because that's what I'm used to. But I like the whole log cabin idea by the lake and the tranquility. And look, I just hope Canada stays together, and I'm sure that it will. We've been hearing this kind of talk our whole lives. It's like the sky is falling, all the Chicken Littles of the world, and they're always wrong. And I have faith that that will continue to be that way.
Amen, bro. Amen.
And I did bring a book. This is War and Remembrance, written by Herman Wouk. This is a sequel to The Winds of War. This is basically the Lord of the Rings of World War II novels. This is like my third time through this book. It's just great characters and great dialogue and real life events like Pearl Harbor and the Battle of Midway and Hiroshima. The whole history of World War II seen through the eyes of the military family.
That's pretty awesome. Trent, do you
Yeah,
read?
Very cool. Yeah, that sounds
great question.
You got a book close by?
Can
go
you
ahead.
read? Sounds like you can.
Yeah, once in a while I'm reading, I guess. Hey, by the way, nice pull on the They Live on the B movies. By
Oh,
the way,
thank you.
that's one of
It's
my
one of my
favorites.
favorites.
Yeah, that's
So
one of my
good.
favorite movies. Yeah, I just like I started laughing as soon as you said it. I was like, oh yeah. So I think I might have watched it like a month ago. It was on like TBS or something. So I just had it on while I was doing something. Just stopped for certain scenes. It's just so cheesy and bad, really, but it's so great at the same time. So a good pull on
There's
that.
there's no
Thank
there's
you.
no there's no bad John Carpenter movies, man. Come on.
No, they're
Yeah,
all good.
yeah, but that was a good pull. I like that one.
Yeah.
Did you bring a book, Paul?
Well, I have one over here. I'll go grab it. I've been looking at it. I'll just grab it. It's pretty interesting.
Sure.
He just has his books for decorations.
Have you been to Vulcan?
No, I have actually before. Played
Have you
ball there
seen? You
before.
have a replica of the Enterprise, I understand. Is it
Yeah,
full scale?
no, it's not full scale.
Pretty big.
Ah,
Yeah, it's not full
yeah.
scale.
So
Pretty
this
tiny,
book
a pretty
is
tiny place too. Really small.
interesting to me and me only, probably.
Mm.
Yeah, Grizzlies.
I used to work for the Vancouver Grizzlies, teaching basketball in the communities of Vancouver. The last year they had a franchise. My old coach Jay Triano got me a job when I just came back from retired from Europe. And Johnny, I don't know if you know this, but on a side note, Trent and I have been talking about youth basketball, and we've both been volunteering for decades. And Trent's been really prevalent in St. Paul's, Alberta. And I'll let you tell Johnny because I don't think he knows. But the name and what you're planning to do, Trent, it's very exciting,
I'm putting
and it has
together
to do with this.
a basketball academy. Um,
Wow.
This is the
for
manual, Trent. I'm going to let you have a nice close look at this when you're ready
Good
to
place
roll.
to live.
yeah,
Um, so,
so
John, tell him because it's so exciting, Trent. Man,
Mm.
it's crazy.
U16 or probably U17, U15 teams of girls and boys, nonprofit. So we're going to be able to get grants from the government, and then we're able to use kids sport and stuff like that for kids who might not be able to afford it. But it's actually going to be a lot of these club teams for these kids that play volleyball and even basketball in Lloydminster at their college. They're paying anywhere from $300 to $1,000 to play on a club team. Well, I'm not. We're not doing that. We're doing. It's going to be like a yearly fee of like $150, something like
Yeah,
that. Like it's. I'm trying to get people in. We're trying to get
Right.
people involved, and our communities
and
basketball.
keep him in.
Basketball's really popular here, and most parents didn't even know that. Right? It's actually quite a thriving area. All the communities with the indigenous communities we have as well. It's like really, really popular. But we don't nurture it at all after it's over at school. Once they're done at school, if they pursue some stuff to do, they do it. If not, they're not doing it. It's just I'll be playing next year when tryouts start again, or at school, or at pickup once in a while. So this way, we're keeping kids engaged a bit longer. We're pretty competitive with the bigger schools. Like we're a small, so in our area, uh, we're considered 3A, which is population between 300 and 800. Well, we're at 325 of kids, and we're competing against schools that have 700 and 800 kids. So, and
Yeah,
we're
it's pretty
competing with,
impressive.
but we can't quite ever get over the top because those kids are playing club all year round. They're doing all that, right? That the passion they have for it, it's being nurtured. So we're going to try to start doing that here. And yeah, I think I've got to see her in a couple weeks. We just applied for our nonprofit status, and hopefully by October kind of up and running and starting to take registration to get just before basketball season starts for all the junior high and stuff like that.
That
Yeah, it's
sounds
very
really
exciting.
fantastic. Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
And then I have a dog. I'm a dog guy, so when I was in Victoria, I rescued a black dog. Black dogs, most people don't realize, are the least adopted. You know, I guess black's scary. Big black dog is scary.
Racist.
They probably are. I can see it. So I also
Wow. It's unbelievable how dumb some people could be.
so I adopted a black dog. So I had a lab husky before. I got another guy now, and so the academy is going to be called Black Dog Basketball Academy. So that's what the name's going to be as well. So
Which I love.
yeah, be cool. It's gonna be fun.
And tell them about the logo. It's gonna be a little bit about with the Jordan sort of vibe.
Yeah, I got a picture of him that it's like a selfie almost. And his one ear's up and one ear's down, and his teeth aren't really showing, but his tongue is out. So it's just going to be something like that. And all the teams are going to, and the teams aren't going to be called Black Dog Basketball Academy. All the teams are just going to be called the Dogs. So
Yeah,
DAWGS. So
love it.
just have some fun, right? Kids like it. It's trying to get them in, right? So you try to build something, and I've got to build something for like 17 years coaching at 2 different schools, and there's kids that want to be involved. I mean, I have kids that I've coached that want to coach and or are still involved in coaching. So yeah, it's a way to try to maybe, if anything, if I end up probably retiring here, which I probably will. I mean, I think that'll be my legacy. Will be here. It will be basketball when I'm not here anymore.
Before that happens, Johnny, Trent's going to be he's going to live up to his nickname of the mayor of St. Paul, Alberta.
Nope, I am not going to be the mayor.
I mean, a mayor's got to live on the 16th hole of a golf course called St. Paul's Golf Course, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it has to happen. Anyways, I just want to finish up. We're an hour and 11 minutes of illuminating information, Trent. Fantastic stream
Thank
of
you, Frank.
consciousness
Very interesting.
I think I found a little bit more of Alberta than I started with. I hope Johnny did as well.
I think the
And
big I think the big thing was to try to have you guys, because I think probably most of your listeners are probably more liberal than conservative, is maybe just try to give them the point, make them understand maybe why people in Alberta feel this way. Most
yeah, absolutely.
Albertans don't want to be Canadians, but just understand why they feel this way,
Mhm.
and maybe that that's how we fix it, right? But that was my goal, really. So
Well, I
I
think
think
you
you appreciate
succeeded, and thank you, Johnny, for being a part of this. Really, everybody. This is the Canadian Bro Show. My name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. We have 3 iterations, only 2 that are actually functioning and recording right now. The first iteration is all things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny, the handsome chap to
Good.
my left, but your right is the co-host with the second most, Mr. John Leister. You might be able to battle Trent at being the co-host at the most, but I think Trent's got the edge, especially after today's episode. The That's Johnny, of course. Johnny's on every podcast in Canada right now. I've
Thank
watched
you.
3 in the last week.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, the spicy pea one, it was very interesting. I'll just say that.
Thanks. Yeah, super
But
nice guy.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Honestly, John doesn't need a literary agent or an agent, anyways, because he is the most shameless promoter
It's
of
all true.
himself I've ever seen.
love it.
The most successful,
Life is
and
short.
we love you because of it. And
Thank you.
he's been
Likewise.
sending me pages of his written stuff recently, and it's just fantastic.
Thank you.
Really, really, really good. But in the meantime, everybody, thank you for joining us. This is episode 38, and it's Finding Alberta. And I think as Canadians, we all really need to find Alberta a little bit more. And as we need to really embrace Canadianism and being Canadian and be proud of Canadian. And I think that's happening. I think there's good things going to happen in this country. In the meantime, I look forward to if you like this sort of free content, this sort of free podcast at the Canadian Bro Show on YouTube. We've got about 60 plus videos. And Trent is our co-host of the second iteration
Yeah,
as well. I've got 2 of the best co-hosts I could ever imagine. I'm so blessed. And our second iteration of the Canadian Bro Show is all things basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rowley. On
Before
behalf
before we go,
of
I
these
have a
2 guys.
pun.
Pun time
Yeah.
before we
Okay.
go.
Here we go.
Johnny
Hold on.
wants to, and
Hang on, fellas. Somebody asked me this morning if I have any plants at home. I said no. I haven't bought any. Thank you.
Jeez.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
The Prince of Puns strikes again.
Ah, Johnny, did you hear that? Trent just threw up in his mouth a little bit.
Well, you don't
I
want the
mean,
death
this
execution
is
to
a
rat your
children's
teeth
show,
in
or
the
no,
middle of
it's
this.
not a children's show, so we can
Definitely
say that. No, that he didn't do that, folks. And we're not filming live anyways. It's going to be released in the next day or so. So, on behalf of everybody here at the Canadian Bro Show, thank you very much for joining us. And if you're trying to find Alberta, check us out. We're going to be on YouTube at the Canadian Bro Show in the next day or so. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, a beautiful spring, and I'm going to be cutting this off. Peace, love, and
Great.
happiness, everybody.
Thank
Be
you.
kind out there. It's free.